Welcome. Welcome to Levels Plus Weekly, episode 38. We're after Halloween, but we're still doing what I said I wanted to do for it episode. Work has been wild the last couple weeks, and it hit me over the weekend, and I was just like, so we're going to talk about Castlevania this weekend. And I've got a pickup to talk about as well, and I may attempt to smush some Smash stuff at the end of this. So I have all of the Castlevania physical games that I currently own, as well as Richter and Simon here from the Amiibo line. I also have a couple other toys, but they're just buried up on the top of the shelf up there, and I didn't feel like digging them out. So I got a pretty good example of my breadth of Castlevania, which will be expanding exponentially once I get the Anniversary Collection Ultimate Edition with its shadow box and all that fun stuff. But gotta wait a little bit longer on that. Before we dive into the Castlevania talk, though, I'll do the pickup, which is R-Type Final 2. The inaugural edition, which we'll just go ahead and get fancy with it. So it's got this box that you can barely see because I'm doing mood lighting. So there you go. You can kind of see it now. So this was on sale at Amazon for $30. I had almost $21 in credit. So I didn't pay a whole lot for this, so I was finally for it. I wanted to get this earlier and it just didn't happen. So it comes with a soundtrack with 11 songs. Comes with a small little art book, which is not the same thing as the Kickstarter, as well as a copy of the game. Which I'm excited to play and see how I feel about buying more DLC for it. But yeah, I mean, $10 with shipping is a wonderful, wonderful price to pay for a game that you have interest in. So definitely was happy to jump on that, and I'll talk about it later, I'm sure. So let's get into Castlevania. So I started, I think, like a lot of people did, with the original Castlevania, which is here in its disc system equivalent. I've owned the carts of all the NES games at one point or another, but they have been pretty easy to acquire. And honestly, 2 and 3 are not my favorites, so at one point I sold them because they had a decent market value, and I imagine they have a really good market value now. And having the disc system version is actually really cool, so I'm pretty happy about that. And of course, Anniversary Collection is probably one of the best ways to play it nowadays, unless you happen to have an NES Mini, which it's on there as well. So I have Castlevania in its original format in a lot of ways. I've also owned it on the Game Boy Advance as part of the classic NES line, which is where I first beat the game, because I never beat it as a kid when I had it on the NES, or I rented it. And the original Castlevania is still one of my favorite games of the series. It sits pretty proudly at number 4 on the grand scheme of things. From there, you know, I rented 2 and I rented 3 as a kid. I missed out on Super and Bloodlines and Rondo of Blood and Dracula X and all the Game Boy games because I didn't have access to systems to play them on. It wasn't until I got a Game Boy Advance that I was actually able to get back into the series, and I started with Harmony of Dissonance. Because Circle of the Moon was so dark on the standard Game Boy, and that's what I had for a long time. So I started with Harmony of Dissonance, and I actually enjoyed it a lot. But it's definitely the weakest of the Metroidvania games, I would say, that I've beaten. And I'm going to add that caveat there. Um, but it was fun for the time. It was before Aria had come out and blew me away, so I was pretty happy with it. I actually wrote a review for it on neomega.net for those of you who are in the cool school of my old internet hangouts. I remember that review. I wonder if I still have that somewhere. Maybe I should post it just for funsies. Anyway, from there I got into Aria. And Aria of Sorrow, I still have. I sold Harmony Dissonance a long time ago. But yeah, this is my original copy of Aria of Sorrow with its complete 100% file with all of the souls, all of the random drops, and all of the map. Soma Cruz is my favorite Castlevania protagonist and is like probably in my top 5 male characters in gaming. I absolutely adore Soma. He's such a cool character, and I love how he controls in Aria a lot. After Aria, I got Circle, because I finally had a Game Boy Advance SP, but it didn't really do anything for me. It kind of felt off. And for some reason, I never got the N64 Castlevanias, and I don't know why. I think that at the time, they weren't reviewed super great. But I would like to get them now, so I'm kind of looking at the Japanese versions because they cost less. And then I got into Symphony of the Night. I played that before I got into the DS games, I'm pretty sure, because I had a PS2 at that point. And a former Levels contributor was kind enough to give me his copy, or his sister's copy, if I remember right. Which was awfully kind, and I still appreciate it, and I still have it. I'm not getting rid of it, because Symphony of the Night is my second favorite Castlevania game. Aria's my first. I'll just go ahead and say that. I was going to do a ranked at the end of this, but I kind of wanted to talk about my personal history with it first. Then I got the DS games. So I got Dawn of Sorrow, which I don't have Dawn. I want to get it back. I have issues with Dawn because it had to implement DS stuff for some reason, and I hate it. The ice blocks and the seals just kill that game for me so much. And otherwise, it's not Aria good, but it's still really good. Then there's Portrait of Ruin and Order of Ecclesia. So these are the ones that I bought way back when. I think I got both of these at Circuit City, actually. Both of them are real close to being in the top 5. Ecclesia was number 5, but I have let Bloodlines slide into its spot, but it's still really good. And I also love Portrait more than most. I think Charlotte is an incredibly fun character to play as, and is unique in the series. Nobody else quite does what she does. And she's one of my favorite characters in the series, too. And then from there, I've acquired a few other things. So I got the PSP Dracula X Chronicles. I've got the Disk System first and second game, and I have a boxed Castlevania 3, which is rad because that's got the special sound chip. And then I've got Lament of Innocence, which is the most recent one I have acquired. I got that at Gamers in Control. And I am going to try to at least get a copy of all the other ones, except maybe the expensive Game Boy ones. I don't know if I want to pay $200 for Castlevania Legends cart. I'm just going to be honest with you. So I am slowly piecemealing the collection up. I do want to get like Super, and I do want to get Bloodlines at some point, Japanese or English. I'm going to get limited runs Rondo of Blood because it costs too much to buy it from Japan. And I do want to get Dawn back, and I would probably be pretty happy with that, and the N64 ones from Japan probably. But let's actually rank these as best as I can. I'm going to do a 10. I'll do a top 10 Castlevania games here, and this is just off the top of my head. So it will not be concrete. So I'm going to say number 10 is Dracula's Curse. Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. I think that it is a perfectly fine game that does a lot to improve upon the formula of the first game, but I think that it has bloat issues, and I think that it also is tuned to be too hard in the American version. And I feel like with the extra character mechanic that it gets a little bit unwieldy to play sometimes. And I think the biggest issue though is bloat. I think that there's just too many levels. It's got too much content for the gameplay that it offers. But that's totally fine. It's a perfectly good game. I like it quite a bit. I beat it a couple years ago thanks to the Anniversary Collection. So I feel that 10's a good spot for it. I'm going to say 9 is Dawn of Sorrow, which, like I was saying earlier, is a great sequel to Aria, but it is not the definitive Soma game, because it drops the ball with the DS features. Like I mentioned, having to draw magic seals is obnoxious. Having to swipe away ice blocks when you used to be able to attack them in-game is obnoxious. And it's not as good as it could be, and it's got padding. It's got weird padding, like you have to collect multiple souls to level up weapons now, because it's like, well, you got extra souls, but you can't do anything with. Well, let's make it a part of the weapons. So it just has similar issues with bloat, and the problem with this game, in contrast to like Portrait, which has a bit of the same problem, is that it feels like work to play it, and that's not fun. Good game, just a flawed one. Super Castlevania 4, I'm going to give number 8. I think that it is a great reinvention of the original game, but it's still not as good as the original game. The 8-way whipping is great, and it looks awesome, and it has a very unique sound in contrast to all the others. But ultimately, I think Simon's a little bit too big, and it relies a bit too much on gimmickry for my liking, for me to rate it too much higher than that. Number 7. I'm going to probably plop Ecclesia there. So Order of Ecclesia will be my number 7. And the reason why it's just a touch lower than Portrait for me is that I really love playing as Charlotte. Shanoa is a lot of fun. She's kind of like, what if Soma and Alucard merged their playstyles more together? And it's fun, and it's great. I think that it has some level design issues. It's a bit samey to walk around, and it doesn't do a lot with the environment in some areas. Like, you're literally walking across a flat plane a couple of times. But the art style is fantastic. I love the art for it. Out of the DS soundtracks, it's solid. It's my second favorite of the 3. And plot-wise, it's probably the best of the DS games. And it's hard in a good way. They actually did some really cool stuff with the combat engine and weaknesses that the others haven't really touched. So it's a great game. Don't get me wrong. All of these games are great. I'm just trying to explain why they're not as high. Portrait of Ruins is my number 6. It's one of my favorite soundtracks. Actually, I would say out of all the Castlevania games, it's my second overall favorite soundtrack in the series, behind the original game. Charlotte is amazing. Jonathan is pretty vanilla. I could do without him. I actually wish the whole game was just Charlotte. The soundtrack and Charlotte, and overall, I think the most interesting level designs of the DS games make this stand out in contrast to its flaw, which is that it's not done. It was rushed to get out for the anniversary, and it is very clearly cobbled together in some areas and feels compromised because of it. Charlotte doesn't have as many tools as Jonathan does, and it feels like she was kind of a lesser priority in terms of stuffing stuff in. And it feels like some of the levels, like rehashing the 4 themes for more stuff. That's kind of what I was saying about bloat. Didn't seem like it needed to happen, but it does actually have a good DS-centric feature with the Vampire Sisters having a mode. Plus you can play as Richter and Maria, which is great. Number 5 is Bloodlines, the Genesis game. I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed this one after not being able to experience it forever. Having 2 different playable characters is great. I think that the soundtrack is solid. It was Michiru Yamane's first crack at the franchise, and she certainly proved her chops there. Such a shame that she went into the far right, though. So I can't really enjoy anything she's doing anymore the way I used to. And it controls really well. The bosses are inventive. The level designs are very unique to the series and do some really cool stuff with the Genesis hardware. Overall, just a marvelous game. I was really impressed by it. Number 4 is the original. I think it is almost as perfectly paced an NES game in 1987 as you could ask for. Actually, 1986. We got it in 87, but it came out in 86 in Japan. Which, if you compare it to a lot of the other stuff that had come out, I think only really Super Mario Brothers and maybe Dragon Quest come to the scope of perfection of the time period that Castlevania does. It's such a well-honed, impeccably designed game that once you really get its mechanics down, it's such a delight to play. I went through it last year and had just a wonderful time playing through it again. That's how good of a game it is. So I adore that game. It's fantastic. Number 3 goes to Rondo of Blood, which is the best of the traditional Castlevania games by a long shot. And it's one that I wish I could play it a little bit more accessibly than I can. Why is Symphony of the Night and Rondo of Blood tied exclusively to PlayStation these days? It's annoying. Just release Requiem on other platforms. I don't care if Sony developed it. It's been 2 years since it came out. Just let other people play those games on modern hardware. I have it on the Wii Virtual Console, and I have it on the TurboGrafx Mini. But I would love to be able to play it on my Switch. Really would. Because Rondo of Blood is such a great feeling game to play. It looks amazing, and it has stellar soundtrack. Probably my third, tied with Symphony, because Symphony and Rondo have just incredible soundtracks. I don't know if I could pick between the two. Playing as Maria is a ton of fun and almost breaks the game because she's so much more versatile than Richter is. But both are excellent to play as, and it just offers a lot of content. It doesn't have a bloat issue. It's the right amount of exploration to really get into, and it's just a lovely game. Love it. Symphony of the Night is number 2. It's number 1 for a lot of people, but ultimately my issue with Symphony is that Alucard does not control as well as Soma does in Aria of Sorrow. And that's basically it. In terms of visual aesthetics, in terms of music, in terms of just the kitchen sink approach of shoving so much content into this game. And Alucard controls really well in most ways. Having to equip potions, drop them, and then use them is silly. I don't understand that. And not being able to super jump the way that you can in Aria, those are basically the 2 things that make me like Aria more. Just Soma feels better to control. Everything else about Symphony is better, except maybe the inverted castle. Really cool concept, kind of clunky to move around. But impeccable game. Just so well thought out and designed and stuffed to the gills in the best way possible. But Aria of Sorrow is the greatest Castlevania game of all time, in my opinion, because of Soma Cruz, how well he controls, and how the level design works for him. There's no obnoxious areas in Aria of Sorrow. The soul system is brilliant. It's such a great way to get away from just using sub-weapons and giving Soma something unique and different from every other game that came before him. and honestly in a lot of ways after him. He's still fairly unique. Shinoa kind of mimicked what he did, but generally speaking, his soul stealing is Soma's, and it's his power, and it's just great. Pretty compelling storyline too, one of the better ones in the series. It's also set in the future, so it's unique on that front as well. And just everything about it is just very well designed. It's very, very, very well designed on a gameplay front, level design front, boss front, enemy front. It just all comes together in this perfect package for me. I love Aria of Sorrow. I remember buying it, playing it, loving it, beating it, starting it immediately back over in a New Game Plus, and doing it again. That's how good it is. I played it again right after doing it. I'm actually going through Aria of Sorrow on the Wii U, because I recently bought it before they announced the Advanced Collection, and I don't have the $20 to just toss at that right now. So I am playing it on the Wii U. So it's the first time I've actually played it from the beginning without all of my weapons and souls, since I think I originally bought the game or played it in hard mode, which was a long time ago. So I'm just kind of falling in love with it all over again because it's so good. So I'm looking forward to getting Advanced Collection though in the near future, just not right this second, and then I'll probably play it again because I love it that much. So that's my top 10 Castlevania games, well as some personal history. We've got the pickup in there. So let's have an intermission, and then we're gonna see what I want to do with Smash for the second half of this episode. Welcome back! I got a surprise! My Strictly Limited order showed up. So I think what I'm going to do, because I have been brainstorming since I recorded the first half of the video, what to do in the second half that's not too long, and I can't think of anything. So we're going to move the Smash stuff to next week, and we're going to go ahead and open up this guy, because there's 3 different games in here, so it's going to take a little bit, and I think that'll be a nice, fun, delightful episode. So I'm going to go ahead and get it open, and we'll be right back with what was inside. I've opened it up, so got 3 different things. So let's just go ahead and get started with the first one, which is the Steelbook version of Crosscode, which I didn't actually have a choice. It was Steelbook or nothing. But it also comes with a regular case. So I hope I've enjoyed the games. That way I can display the Crosscode Steelbook somewhere. But I've heard really good things about Crosscode, and I'm pretty excited to try it out. That it was 1,695 out of 3,000. Number 2 on the docket is Ys Origin, which I'm also very excited to have. This is 1,830 out of 2,500. I've heard good things about this as well, and I apparently got some swag. I wasn't expecting to get a little ceramic or acrylic little plate for it, but I did, so hey, not gonna complain. Here's the exciting part though. Here's the exciting part, and it's actually kind of ironic in a way, because about a year ago, this enterprise of Levels Plus Weekly got its unofficial start with my live unboxing of Darius Cosmic Collection. And here we are, almost 1 year later, with Darius Cosmic Revelation. And I'm actually kind of curious to see what that video looks like, because it was on my phone in a completely different room, and it's much more professional now than it used to be. Here's the box. It's just like the other one. They'd created an arcade-style board box. but I've got a little bit of cutting to get into it, so 1 sec. All right, I've got it open, so let's check this out. So inside this box is this box. This has all of the goodies inside of it. So what they did is, with this edition, it comes with G Darius HD, Darius Burst, another Chronicle EX Plus, and Sagaya for the Game Boy, which the last one is a nice little bonus because it wasn't originally planned to be in this collection. It was originally released on Cosmic Collection in Japan as like an Amazon store exclusive or something like that. So we'll get into that in just a second, but we're not quite done with what's in here because there's additional items. We've got the second art book, Darius Odyssey Cosmic Voyager, which I will show off in a little bit more detail in a few minutes. I've got my Darius Cosmic Collection pin, which will go with all the other ones I got last time. More acrylic art, so got different little things here with Darius artwork. It's pretty cool. And then this one says "Peel Me Off," so that's probably got this bluish sheen to the plastic covering it to protect it. So that's good to know. We're not done yet though. There's still more. So one of the cooler things that they tossed in here is the ability to make a papercraft Darius Burst arcade cabinet. And that's what all of this is all of those pieces to be able to do that yourself. I don't know if I have that level of dedication to do it, but it's a really cool bonus idea. But for now, I think it'll probably just stay in the box. But let's get into what's inside the fancy box, because we're still not done. Alright, so this clamshell box opens up, and there's more cool art inside. And then we've got a pamphlet that kind of talks about the details of Darius Burst. We've got a pamphlet for G Darius. These are probably reproductions of the original release. There's an acrylic version of the Darius spaceship, which is pretty cool. Mine got a little banged up there, but it's something a little glue won't fix. Then there's more soundtracks. This one is the Darius the Omnibus 3 Serendipity. And I'm trying to remember, this is remixes? I don't quite recall, but I am down for more music. Speaking of that, here is a DVD of Zuntata performing the soundtrack live. Of the various Darius games, along with a couple other things it looks like, which is super cool. And then there's of course the game itself, buried deep at the bottom of this box. And Sagaya is on there, and this is 2,339 out of 2,500. So that's a lot. That's a lot of content. So here's the thing with strictly limited stuff. Beyond the acrylic ship model having a little crack in it, that will be easy to fix. Strictly limited does really nice stuff, and while it takes forever for it to show up, like I said, I ordered this I think last September, and I just got it in November. It's worth the wait, and I am just beyond delighted with everything that I picked up today. There's just a lot of cool Darius stuff, and I love Darius. It's probably my favorite shoot 'em up series, so I am so happy to have practically all of it, maybe a few ports here and there that I'm missing that they just haven't been released yet, available thanks to Strictly Limited. So super cool, really happy to have it. Hope you enjoyed checking it out with me. I did say I would show off the book a little bit more before we wrapped up. So it's got concept work for the games that are included. So there's some G. Darius concept art. And then here's some merch. So it shows off some of the various merch that's come out for the series. Pictures of the cabinets. And one thing I think that is an improvement in this book over the last one is that it's in full color. And then we've got interviews. Oodles and oodles of interviews, which are translated, which is super cool. And there's a ton. Like, there is a ton of essays in this book. So this will be fun to flip through. And there's even some guest Darius celebrity art. In fact, Pokemon fans will recognize the bottom right corner as Ken Sugimori, who was the illustrator for Pokemon for a long time. And like, just, I love the art of Darius too, because it's such a unique world. This is so cool. I love it. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for Levels Plus Weekly this week. I hope you enjoyed the Castlevania retrospective, for me at least, as well as my ranking of the best games, and all the pickups that I got. I got a lot of shoot-em-ups this week. Got R-Type Final 2 and Darius. What a grand time for me. One last announcement before we're done, and that is on Femtendo 1983-86. I did do my video of the proof, which here you go if you didn't check it out. Since I submitted the final draft, however, Amazon came back to me with some corrections, and I've been working on those corrections, but in that process it's turned out that the entire book design is now off center to match their specifications. So that's going to probably be my weekend, is working on getting all of that fixed and then resubmitted. So hopefully Femtendo 83 through 86 will be out in the next week or two. And of course, I will be on top of that and let you know on the blog. And I might even do a video on it, because there's going to be a lot of emotions with this book, because it's the best thing I've ever done in terms of Levels Plus, having its content reproduced. So very excited about it. Hope that you are too, and we will see you next week. Thank you so much, friends, for watching. Take care.